Hey, how y'all doing tonight? I just finished with this grave and was just giving my bones a rest. I like working at night. It's nice and peaceful. The name is MT Graves. I'm the caretaker and digger here at the graveyard. So did you stop by to hear a yarn or two? I have some terror-filled tales that will set your mind racing and have your hair on end. Well, find you a spot and get comfortable and I'll tell you a story that will keep you up at night, staring into the truck down the narrow mud strip that passed for a road leading into Bell Swamp. The vehicle bounced and slid like a old wooden roller coaster car about to jump from the tracks. The road dumped out into a grass clearing with blue, red, and white lights flashing from a dozen sources. A number of vehicles were parked haphazardly in the clearing like toys tossed in the middle of a child's room. 5:34 a.m. A group of police officers, both local and federal, stood around a rather large sluggish-looking sheriff in the small swampy clearing. In a booming southern drawl he says, "We have a escaped patient from Dutchess Mental Facility. He is a 32-year-old male, with a history of arson going all the way back to his teens. He also has 11 outright kills to spice things up amongst. This guy will kill you and not bat an eye. When DM had bed check last night at 10 p.m. he was missing. He has at least a 7 to 8 hour start. He could be anywhere within a 100 radius by now. We have units searching all the roads and towns in the designated area. This is the most likely area to hide, since it is sparsely populated, and very rugged. Treat him as if he was armed because he is most definitely dangerous. I don't want any heroes. Be cautious, and don't take any risks. He has been kept in solitary and drugged for the last 12 years for others' protection. So the higher-ups have assigned the manhunters for this one. I know some of you are not very partial to them or their use, but they are superior both in stamina and senses. They have their own handlers, and you will not have to work with them, so don't get your shorts in a knot. Now let's get out there and find this guy before he hurts someone." Most of the men dispersed, while the large box truck pulled up. Two men jumped out and proceeded to open the back. In the back was just a 6 by 5 foot box made of metal. Low moans seemed to come from the box. The men slid it onto a small dolly and hauled it down the hydraulic ramp. The box was riveted sheet metal with small doors on both sides and a hatch on top. With the box unloaded, a few of the men standing around in the clearing edged closer. The driver closed the back of the truck and went back to the cab, while the other shorter man carried a satchel and a small electronic device to the box. Placing the device on top of the box, he began attaching two cables to it. A low, guttural groan rose up from the darkness inside the box. The men had formed a semicircle about 20 feet from the box. In a nasally voice the man attaching the wires said to the officers around him, "Watch here boys, 1.5 million volts for 3 seconds. It would kill any one of us, but it just paralyzes old Stumpy here. He'll be still for 5 minutes, back to normal in 9. So I'll get the harnesses on and the work's done, or you might get a surprise, haha." With that the short man flicked a switch on the device, and the sound of electricity and the smell of ozone filled the air. Like a surgeon, who has done a procedure, the short cop disconnected the wires, and proceeded to open the top of the box. He reached in with a harness and maneuvered a few seconds, then pulled a rather rugged-looking leather and steel mask from the satchel and again reached into the box. Less than 1 minute later, the short man raised up and announced, "We're ready. Now don't go get a itchy trigger finger, kids." The short man announced introductions first. "The name's Gale, as in the wind." As he put a fresh toothpick from his pocket in his mouth. "Some of you might know how this works, but for the benefit of those who don't, there are a few rules," Gale added. A chuckle of nervous laughter rippled through the group before the sheriff's stern look returned the glade to silence. "No smoking," Gale began. "It spoils the scent and makes the hunter's job harder. Besides, they're not too keen on fire. Don't get in front of me once we head out. I need a clear scent line, and believe me, once they get worked up, you don't want to get in the way." A hearty round of laughter bubbled up, causing Gale to pause and wait until it died down. This was what he wanted. Men at ease. There would be plenty of time for second thoughts and uncertainty later. "I assume you have an article of clothing or something that belonged to the fugitive?" The sheriff nodded. "We have a shirt in the cruiser." "Good enough, let's get Stumpy out," Gale replied. The men looked at the box and then back and forth at each other. It was amazing how a group of grown men could be reduced to frightened schoolboys. Gale had to remind himself that he had been at this 10 years. He has trained, slept, and ate with Stumpy for the last 3 years. Stumpy hasn't even tried to bite him in 2 years. What might seem normal to him would be a hellish nightmare to the average man. "Now just step back." "I'll handle this," Gale said. "And Sheriff, I'll need that scent item when I'm done." He opened the hatch on top and grabbed hold of the leather harness and began pulling a grayish limp body from the box. A murmur of panic rose up from behind him and, without turning, Gale knew the men had stepped back even further. He laid it face up beside the box. The creature wore rags that had once been a shirt and pants. A ratty belt with no shoes. It was male, with skin ashen gray, mottled, and bore evidence of old, unhealed wounds. Its eyes were clouded, lacking intellect or expression. Broken, rotted teeth showed each time its cracked lips opened to moan. The right arm was missing from the shoulder. The left hand had what looked like a strange leather boxing glove. "Don't worry, fellers, the harness has 3 different tossers," Gale joked, trying to break the tension. "One click from this remote in my pocket, and Stumpy will fall asleep again. So no worries if he gets curious." The once living creature began to stir. The sheriff handed Gale the shirt, and Gale laid the shirt over Stumpy's face. Gale, though, these creatures lived only for flesh and understood only the need to eat. There was no doubt that dealing with these man-hunters was far more dangerous than using ordinary dogs. At best they moved like drunks, and their sense of smell was about on par with a good scent hound. They did, however, have one big advantage. A killer might not think twice about slaying a deputy or a tracking dog if it meant a clear path to freedom, but even the most hardened con would think twice about taking on one of the living dead. I've seen the biggest, baddest, criminals give up from just hearing these things moan. Though a vaccine had eventually been created, the undead plague, as it was referred to in popular culture, had taught humanity one thing. There are some things worse than death. "Okay, Stumpy," Gale said. "Let's save the world and make $1." Stumpy stiffly stood and, acting like he was tasting the air, stumbling off into the morning light. "Hope that didn't scare you too much." Just something to think about when you're in the dark, or when the power goes out. Well, I guess I've rested enough. I have more customers to attend to. Seems business is booming. See ya around. Eventually.